Firstly, we're going to talk about basil, Ocimum basilicum. And basil is truly the archetype of a great healing plant. It's been highly respected throughout the ages. Historical documentation on the use of basil goes back 5,000 years. It's really, truly amazing. All the varietals will have similar medicinal properties, but each varietal will also kind of have a little bit of its own specialty. And you'll see that even as we go through the different plants in this talk, they'll kind of in some ways seem like they treat a lot of similar things, but then as we go through, I'll try to point out some of the special things that are really particular to that plant. But in a way, they are somewhat interchangeable, so you'll see that as we go on. Basil is a great anti-inflammatory herb. It's naturally calming and cooling, perfect thing to take when you're having a fever or a cold with a fever, to make a nice cup of basil tea, add some extra fresh chopped basil to whatever it is that you might be eating, but try to get that basil in because it's going to really calm down any heat in the body and any inflammation in the body. It's just going to cool everything down. It also means that it's a perfect summer herb, which makes growing it in the summertime super fun because you can just add it to almost any dish. And basil you want to definitely use in things that are not cooked a lot, cooked less, or not cooked at all. So perfect for salads, for green salads, pasta salads, salad dressings, pesto, that you add at the very end of a pasta dish. So you're really just getting that fresh pop of basil, but it hasn't been cooked too much. Basil is an aromatic and a carminative, which means it helps with your digestive system and processing food, reducing gas, just helping the whole digestive system work properly. It also helps that your bodily functions regulate, your more physiological bodily functions regulate. So it's an alterative. It has antidepressant properties. It's fever reducing, like we spoke about. It calms our nervous system and kind of tones our nervous system to keep that in check. It's a great circulatory stimulant, and it has naturally occurring antimicrobial and antifungal properties. And this is talking about the whole class of basils. All the different types of basils will have these properties. We'll get into the specific ones next. Internally, it's a great herb to take for, colds, fever, flus, cough, sinus issues, constipation, headaches. Has some great anti-ulcer properties. So if you're dealing with some ulcer conditions, it's a good one to integrate into your diet, both as a whole food and as a tea. Topically, you can infuse basil into oils, water, which we already talked about, but also into oil. And it's a great one to combine with garlic and mullein if you need to make an ear oil, which is really nice for kids, who are more prone to earaches, or even swimmers. And so you can infuse all those things together, and we will talk about that a little bit later on in the video as well, how to infuse those products together into an oil that you can use as your own medicinal oil at home. Basil is great for bites and stings, so you could do an infusion with probably a variety, I would suggest a variety of these plants, and make an oil infusion that you could use for bug bites and foot massage, a lot of different ailments that we'll discuss as we go on. In traditional Chinese medicine, basil is also commonly used, and in that modality of medicine, it's used for increasing circulation, relieving menstrual cramps and other menstrual issues, and it's great for infections and paralysis. The essential oil, which we'll cover, we'll touch on the essential oils in each plant also. They have slightly different properties, but very similar. You're never going to find something radically different in terms of the essential oil versus the whole plant. So they each have their benefit in use, and they are similar, but there are a few differences. So we'll discuss that as well. But the essential oil of basil is an excellent nerve tonic for fatigue and exhaustion. So a good one to think about when you're working at the computer, or you have a long drive, or you're just on a heavy work schedule. Basil is an excellent aromatherapy to work into your aromatherapy regime. It strengthens the mind, it increases your concentration, And it's also a great adrenal cortex stimulant, so it will really help mediate your stress response and keep you balanced.